Yes, guys. Hello. Welcome to the channel. This is the EOSwriter.io interview series. And today we've got a really special guest. You can see him on the screen. We've got Ayyash. Hopefully I haven't butchered that too badly. But he's the CEO of Lumeos, which is a growing DApp on the EOS network. Really exciting stuff. And you guys, a lot of you guys probably already know who he is. But just if you would like to introduce yourself, Ali, and talk about your background before blockchain would be great. So how are you, sir?
Hey, how's it going? So basically I'm mostly an engineer by trade. I was a back-end software engineer at Amazon and Google, I would say a couple of years ago before I quit and jumped into the blockchain space by working on a few DApps and mostly investing in the beginning. But then recently we started working on Lumeos, mainly as a way of us to monetize our information and data that we're gathering online and that we're sharing online.
Yeah, honestly, probably one of the most, I've been a fan of it for a while. Like, I think a lot of us have the looking forward with this. This is the main, you're trying to disrupt like the main hubs, like the big Facebook data hubs and this kind of stuff. And it leads on to my next question. So, like, what do you see as the CEO? Like, what's the main problem we have today with like central data hubs, like, the Facebooks, the Amazons, the Googles, of course. Like, how do you see the issue? What are the problems? And then go on to how you're using the EOS blockchain with Lumeos to solve it.
Yeah. So the main business model behind all the big tech businesses today, like Instagram and Facebook and Google, is the idea that you as a user, you as a data provider, is the product. And if you weren't there, then I would not exist. So think of it like, imagine Facebook with 0 users. There's no money, there's nothing else. And you as the user of a platform, you are creating the product itself. So after millions and billions of users have jumped onto those platforms, that is when the actual money has started coming into play. As form of either advertisement or content being sold or all that. And the idea, what happens is, okay, you use those platforms, you are satisfied, but at the end of the day, the companies are making most of the money out of it. Not to mention about the other issues that come with the fact that, okay, now there's a centralized entity that pretty much knows everything about you. Even though most of them are play well, like Google do no evil, and Facebook is trying to do good stuff with that kind of information. It's still like your fingerprint, your digital fingerprint is pretty much owned by someone else, which is kind of scary, and especially in today's world, and the hacks and all that. And I think that's what a lot of like the founders of EOS, the CEO of EOS keeps mentioning, that the idea is that the more your data should be your own, and you should take a cut out of it from whoever is monetizing it. Same thing with Facebook, same thing with Instagram and all that. And that's the main idea that we're trying to tackle here.
Yeah.
Just using blockchain technology as a means to help us pay ourselves for the information that we're providing whenever somebody actually pays for it. So if you get like a $10 for 100 users, each one will be able to get 10 cents out of it.
Yeah, and like, as I said before, you're going against like the biggest monopoly. Like right now, like the whole Facebook problem with tracking and data, it's so bad. And Apple, the iCloud got hacked recently, and I don't know if the statistics exactly right, but I think Facebook make on average $2,000 a month of each user. Like that's the average. So what you're doing is you're basically decentralizing the Facebook central hub, and then hopefully we can get that value back like to the user. So I love it, man. Really enjoy it. But the next question I got for you, mate, is so at the moment it's polls. That's the main like business model you've got at the minute with the poll structure. Could you just tell us as much as what you've learned about it? Because like it's been evolving as it's going along, like how much it costs to do a poll, also how much you get rewarded, and then the dynamic range. Like, could you just explain like the token economics behind it and how it's like empowering people to make money out of their knowledge or whatever?
Of course. So if you think of it, so the number that you mentioned is very, very high. It's a lot less than that, less than actually. But still, like that's for just aggregating data, and that will take some time to get there. Just by selling your own name or location or email address and all that.
What is the figure? What's it more near to?
What's that?
What's the figure more near to for Facebook? Not.
It's around like $25 on average. It depends on how much information you're sharing and how much privacy you're giving out.
So I was only 1,000x off.
Yeah. So if like you're giving your location, then it's probably you're getting a lot more targeted advertisement. Same thing. The more you use the platform, the more like if you like so many things on the platform, the number will go up for sure for you as an individual. But on average, it's around $25.
Okay.
At least for 2018, I think.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is that, okay, just doing that, going against that business model is not going to be ideal, mainly because the numbers are low. So what we're trying to do is make that number higher by going directly to companies that are struggling, or we're solving a problem for by giving them survey results and analytics about user behavior and using the platforms as well, so that we can push the figures to higher, like maybe $100 or so that it's more beneficial for the user. And the entire thing is backed by a token structure where the more clients we have buying data, the more token holders will benefit from the token price going up. Basically, the idea is that even without having the token in the first place, we needed it in order to maintain the access to the platform. That's what we're calling it, more of an access token to the platform that ensures that users who come in earlier would be able to get rewarded for any data that they give. And the more data you give out, the more tokens you can get. Now, from the other hand, the other side of the equation is the buyers who are trying to get to your data. And who are they today? So today, it's mostly about companies willing to get quick insights like surveys. Same thing with like asking questions like, oh, go to this website and give us your feedback. And that's what we're trying to like achieve with the polling system. You also mentioned like what have we learned so far from just doing polls? Is that the main thing is that even though we're trying to reward good behavior, we realize that a lot of bad behavior comes into play the moment you tell people, hey, we're paying you if you give us something in return. And that's the idea of behind fake accounts and fake users come into play, where we realize that there's actually a small amount of users who've just done that in order to game the system and try to get more tokens out of it. And that's like one of the things we realized, but we were able to like quickly figure it out, mainly because we're a data platform, so we can always trace back some of the data that happened in order to figure out who the real users versus who are not.
Exactly, yeah.
And so on the other hand, again, like I don't want to say we are not a fully decentralized platform. We are built partially on the EOS blockchain, but we have some centralization controls in play, mainly because we're new. We cannot have a fully open decentralized system from day one, because it will be also more prone to hacks. It will be more prone to people trying to game the system. And that actually helped us out right now. As we evolve later on, we will move more functionality onto the chain. But for now, the main functionality that we're doing is tracking of the votes by EOS accounts. And obviously not all of our users have EOS accounts. And in that case, we have one managed for them just to have a one-on-one mapping.
Nice.
But yeah, the idea is that going forward, we can put more information into the user's control under an EOS account for them. But then on the other hand, there's like the payment systems. It doesn't really have to be on EOS. We can always pay users with any kind of currency. And we mentioned that earlier last week, where we were already working on some good updates that will be placed in, that will open this up not only for the EOS ecosystem, but for everyone.
Yeah, I literally was going to mention that, because the platform you've got at the moment, you don't have to have an EOS account. You can actually, someone like my dad, for instance, I got him involved with it. He just had Lumeos. He was creating his tokens. But yeah, just before I get to that question with the extra payments you've got coming in, just want to talk about the widgets. So I literally just heard about this the other day, and you're going to have like some sort of widget system which is going to be built into websites. Just explain to everyone what that is. How does it work?
Yeah. So today what Lumeos is, it's just a mobile app. That's what we call it does social polls. And the way it works is that people download an application and then they can ask any question and get feedback. And then it's just aggregated. In addition, they can provide more information about themselves, like their age, their location, their gender, and coming later this week is like their income level and education level. And then that information will be used in whenever we aggregate data and send it and run a survey. We can give the breakdown of that survey in all those. But as of right now, whenever we create a survey, we create it on the mobile app on behalf of companies or just the regular users who are creating those. And we'll get the feedback, we'll get the results back. We break it down, we will do some analytics on it, and then send it back to the customers. Now, on the other hand, what we really want to do is we want to be pretty much everywhere. So if you have a website like the EOSwriter.io, for instance, that have content, and it's providing content to a lot of hundreds, thousands, even millions of users who come in, read the content, and then leave. What we want to do is try and kind of give some form of a very, very light interaction with that content. Like, was this useful? Yes, no. There will be like a poll system into play that can just embed into the site. And that is what the widget is going to be. And for the last few months, we've been just on everywhere. We've been talking to everybody in crypto and outside of crypto about how would you benefit from surveys. And the main idea is that everybody's trying to get to their own audience. Now, instead of telling people, hey, download this app and give us your feedback, what we can do is we will be everywhere, meaning we will be just a small JavaScript plugin or widget that can add one line of code to your site, whether it's in WordPress, Squarespace, or your own website. And you'll be able to give immediate feedback for a customized question by the owner of the website. So if you're the owner of the site, you can say, okay, you read this article, was this useful? Yes, no. What do you want to read in the future? What kind of content would you be interested to reading in the future? Would you like to see more videos? Would you like to see more airdrop analysis, more technical stuff? Now we can get that feedback immediately to you. And since we're using your space, based on how, that space can definitely, you can put an advertisement there, but rather than putting an advertisement, you can put that survey itself. And then once somebody answers, it can either disappear or get removed completely, or we can show something else in its place. Now, the best part is, how can we make this so that it's mostly useful for you and at the same time for the users? Because we're telling the users, okay, you answer this, but we don't know you yet. We don't know who you are to send you something in return because you've answered that survey. So that's where we come, that's where the scanner integration, the Transit API integration, the MetaMask integration comes into play. And even other new systems like Hashgraph as well, where now that as long as you're logged in and have the extension, we can know, and you give it access to the website itself. We would be able to know who you are on the blockchain and send you rewards in the future if your data gets sold or something comes into play. So that's the general gist behind it.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, so yeah, I can really see that going far. And then you can get quicker feedback for if people like the site or not, and then it'll be all locked down on the Lumeos network, and then you can get rewarded for your opinion, basically, in a cryptocurrency.
Correct. So we'll have like two different kinds of users: those who we know and those who we don't know. So in order to get the most out of your data, you would be incentivized to get the app and tell us who you are. That way, your data will be a lot more valuable. If you're just a pixel or just somebody who's just passing by, we wouldn't really know much about you. We wouldn't even be able to send you any payments unless you give us something like an email address or an EOS address or an Ethereum address so that we know who you are and be able to pay you in the future. It's mostly about, the more data we know, the more data collection that we can do, the more we can make in money, and the more we can give back to the users in money as well. That is what the Lumeos backend will be doing. So
Yeah.
So far, like, we have the small front end, which is the mobile app, and that is powered by a small Lumeos backend, powered by EOS. And what we want to do now is expand this further to not only our mobile app, but basically anyone.
Yeah, I'm super excited, man. Like everything you're talking about just sounds spot on. But just to like backtrack a little bit. So you said recently you've announced that you're going to be integrating other cryptocurrencies as payment for your Loom tokens. So like in the platform, say you do 100 polls in a day and you want to sell those Loom tokens back to the market. Instead of selling them for EOS, you could actually sell them for other cryptocurrencies. Just explain which cryptos you're looking at and how does this link in with Hashgraph?
Yeah, so let me just also correct you that we are not going to be an exchange ourselves. So we are not a crypto exchange. The idea is that when we get paid, let's say we get paid in US dollars, then we need to convert some of it to the Lumeos token. But we can also get paid in Ethereum coins. We can also get paid in Tron. We can get paid in EOS. We can get paid in HBAR, which is Hashgraph's currency. So it doesn't matter, like whichever currency we get paid in, we need to be able to get to the user based on what they would be interested in. So if you only have a Hashgraph wallet, we will be able to give you your reimbursement in Hashgraph or HBAR. Yeah. That's like the main idea. So the points. So on the other hand, there's also from a legal perspective, is that some countries do not allow you to make an application that gives users cryptocurrency. For instance, India is I think it's illegal to do that. So what we've been rebranding ourselves is, okay, you go to the app and you make points, and those points can be moved into crypto or rewards based on where you are, based on what you want to do.
I get you. Yeah, you're moving the kind of the liability onto someone else, basically, kind of thing.
Right. The idea is that we will only have a point. So if you have 10,000 points or 5,000 points in the app, those are points that you can change one-to-one to Lumeos coins if you have an EOS account. You can change to other currencies if you want as well, based on like, where you want to, what is your preferred payment, where are you located, and all that.
This is like yeah, go on.
Like I mentioned, like we didn't really want to limit that to US users. So we are working with Tron, we are working with Hedera Hashgraph, and we are working with Ethereum to get this to pretty much any kind of currency.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I'm learning a lot, man. Like I thought I knew it all, but you're telling me everything I need to know. But yeah, so just moving back to that. So Bancor, they just released their new wallet and they've got this really good exchange, which is like kind of does what you want an exchange to do, but easier. Is there any way you would ever think about maybe integrating something like Bancor? So, because it's kind of not you doing the exchange, if you know what I mean. Say it was like a link to it, or you had it in the app and it was just a one-click shop, but it's not really you facilitating the trade. So what do you think about that?
We are already working with Bancor. So we are launching our coin or our token on the EOS mainnet very soon, in the next 10 days, basically. And the idea is that we're working with Bancor. Now that you have, in order to make use of this, is you get your Lumeos token, you can go to Bancor and do whatever conversion you want to do wherever you want. We're not doing an integration, in the app itself, because we didn't really want to, we don't want to go into the business of being an exchange. We don't want to go into the business of having to support multiple coins. We are a wallet for our own coin, but we will be able to integrate with any kind of wallets as well to get your payments. But you as a user can choose after you get your Loom token, where do you want to do it? What do you want to do with it? You can go to Bancor for sure.
That's awesome. Like, I'm just seeing the picture in my head. So yeah, moving on. So like the next step after the poll. So the polls is the beginning, rewarding yourself for polls, getting the idea they can get rewarded for, your information, your data, whatever. But the next step is like monetizing your hard data. Like I recently downloaded all of my Facebook data, which you can do on the website. And then potentially, like in the future, I'll probably delete my Facebook page because I don't really use it. I just use Messenger. So the next step is the monetization. You did a post on the EOSwriter. Highly recommend reading that. So how's it going to work? So like, you're going to be able to upload your Facebook, Instagram, and your other networks, say Google data. How will this actually look like getting paid for that? How will you monetize it? How will advertisers, or how will people who want to get access to that data, how will they approach you? And how will the ecosystem look for you actually getting paid for your data?
Yeah. So when we first started Lumeos around 6 months ago, a little bit earlier, actually, it's been more than that now. We said that we were going to do multiple phases in order to get to our main goal, but it's going to take a few years to get there. So phase one was basically just polls and surveys and throughout our mobile app, and that's done. We recently said, okay, now we're moving to phase two, which is basically to get more data about the users through their online footprint through using our widget that we will be integrating into many websites. There's a lot of good websites, big websites actually, that have millions of monthly traffic users going through them that we are in talks to get the widget integrated with. So
that's going to be amazing. Yeah,
I'm very excited about like announcing those names, but once we get the deals signed,
get it in paper. Yeah, exactly. Get it written on paper.
Yeah, the idea is that is where we are going next. We're going to reach any kind of internet user. The moment we get to know that individual, the moment they interact with our platform and give us access to some of their information, that instance, we can actually help them get something out of it, basically monetize any kind of survey that we sell. Or we will never go out and say, okay, now we have this email, we're going to just give it out. Instead, we're always going to aggregate data and sell the data anonymously to any interested party. And since it's all recorded, who came into the platform and who provided information, we will know exactly how much every person will get paid. So far, like if you've been using the Lumeos app, you always get the same amount of, regardless how much information you've given out. But going forward, it's not going to stay like this. The number you will get will be proportional. Well, it will be proportional to how much information you're giving out. So the more data that you give, the more you will make. But it also will be, since we have a fixed token supply, will be dependent on how much is remaining. So like, you know how Bitcoin is always going to create asymptotically over time, and it will always be only be 21 or a fixed amount of coins. It'll be very similar with Lumeos. Until we reach that threshold, the number will go down over time. But the idea is that, again, like still, if you shared your location, you immediately will get a lot more than somebody who do not share their location information. And so that is phase two. And then, as I mentioned, phase three will be that, okay, now that you trust us, we build trust, we build a big user base. Let us see how this upload system will work. So because of GDPR last year, a lot of companies, including Facebook, Google, and everybody basically, have to have a button inside their application to allow users to download their personal information, and another button to allow the users to delete their entire information from that company's servers.
Yeah, sure.
Facebook is one of them, Google is one of them, Twitter, everybody, all the big ones that you use today. And the best part is like, okay, now that you can have access to that information, how can you monetize it yourself? It's going to be very difficult to go out and say, okay, I'm selling my, the zipped file that I got from Facebook. But how about we actually know how to do that as part of being a data management platform, as part of having the connections to the advertisers and people who actually will pay for this. We can sell that information to you, and we will be able to give you something in return for that without having to do anything. So it's like actual passive income that you are actually going to generate just by uploading that information. The reason we don't ask people to do that today is because that will require a lot of trust to do. Like if you're giving an application like Lumeos so much information, that I wouldn't do it. The idea is that over time, the more we prove ourselves that we are actually on that right track, the more information we'll start be able to ask the user, especially if they're actually making something out of it.
Yeah.
The more we're giving back, the more users will be interested to trust the system more. And the more we will go out of the equation instead of becoming more and more decentralized over time. And that is when we envision the data import system will come into play. And the best thing is we're not telling you, okay, just delete your Facebook or whatever. Actually continue using it, continue generating more data on those platforms, and continually update your information. The more data, the more data that you are giving out over time, the more advertisers will be interested in it, and the more you will be able to make out of it. So you imagine passively just using Facebook every day and getting a paycheck. Not a paycheck, actually you get micropayments immediately the moment something is sold.
And you decide what you give away, so it's like all in your control. Because if you wanted to, you could give away nothing, right?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, because I was having a conversation the other day about the whole GDPR thing, and it's like GDPR is something which has come out of an inefficiency. So like, Facebook, Amazon, all these big giants, if they didn't control all of the data so centralized, we wouldn't have to have GDPR in the first place. So what Lumeos is doing, because you're saying that eventually you're going to get more decentralized. So in the beginning, GDPR might be something which you have to think about, but in the future, GDPR is kind of irrelevant, because if everybody owns their own data, you all are your own GDPR. Like everybody decides themselves. So it's irrelevant that you don't even need it in the first place.
Yeah, we've been calling it GDPR 2.0. It's basically where you wouldn't need GDPR in the first place because you're already in control of your privacy, control of your information. Yeah. Because of distributed ledger technology.
It's insane, man. Like, I've got a few more things. Like we're done about half an hour. So what else was I going to ask? So like just a bit more podcasty. Like that's pretty much all my questions. But like, what can we look forward to? Like, where are you guys based? Like, are you guys in San Francisco, is it? Or where are you guys?
Yeah, so right now we're kind of all over the place. We recently moved, like myself and my co-founder Mike, we came to Hong Kong to work as part of an accelerator over here. We also got an investment from investors in Hong Kong. So we've been expanding our team with a couple more engineers to be able to push out features faster. But while we're here, we've been actually going out mostly making Asia connections, mainly because blockchain is bigger in Asia and all that.
Yeah, they love it.
Actually, just last week we had a drink with the VP of engineering of Block One. He was just telling me how exciting it is to be in Hong Kong, mainly because Block One is also based over here, and it's the connections here is very very big and very very.
Do you think it's do you think there's more growth in Hong Kong than say California?
I mean, San Francisco and Silicon Valley is still going to be number one in my opinion. But seeing how blockchain is there and here is very interesting. It seems like here is also growing as fast as possible. So having the right connections, the right audience, the right investors, and knowing the correct audience inside San Francisco as well has actually helped me push to the next level in knowing more people and getting the most out of this experience. As for like once the accelerator is over, we're going to go back to San Francisco, but our company itself has we've actually incorporated here in Hong Kong as well as in the US. So we're pretty much going to be in both places at the same time.
What's the kind of like split in the user base? Do you have like more Asian user base, or do you have a more US user base? Like, do you
right now we're actually our biggest user base is inside the US, but it's like around, I would say like 60 to 70% of the users are in the US and Europe, and then 30% is in Asia.
It's still pretty good though. Like that's still pretty good. Like there's so many companies which are just big in their own tiny little bubble, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Which is really good, interesting, because whenever we create a poll on the app today, you will see answers immediately, whichever time you create. Even if it was a midnight in the US, somebody on the other side was actually there and answering. Yeah, it's actually pushed us to do extra changes, like our latest poll that we created is written in 3 languages, English,
I saw it. Yeah, I
Korean,
saw it.
and
I answered that
and
one.
simplified Chinese. The idea is that we want to reach everyone, regardless of the language that they're doing. We want to integrate with the Google Translate API. It's not that great, but
So what, you just write it in English and then it will just be in their language in their country.
based on like which language you say you prefer, and that will end up having a lot better results. And like previously, so last week we announced the EOS block producer program, and only block producers. We got reached by pretty much all the main block producers, and most of them, although most of them are English speakers, we did not really get access to many non-English block producers, and we really need to work more on getting the Chinese and Korean user base updated with questions that they would actually understand. Even though we know that majority of them do know English, it still makes their decisions in answering questions easier if they can see it in their own language.
Yeah, cool.
That is when we will expand to the block producers in China as well, and hopefully they will join our program.
Yeah.
But there's an update to that. Like I think we already have 10 accounts on Lumeos that is by block producers, and going forward, their polls will be on top. And the idea is that since our majority of their users who are actually using the app are EOS users, we can give quick feedback to block producers on any topic. And the best part is that it's one user, one vote, meaning even if you have millions of EOS, you're not going to influence someone who has only one EOS.
Nice.
Like the existing polling tools that are in that are in the ecosystem. So whenever you're trying to come up with a new, changes to constitution or changes to you as a block producer, you can actually use our application. Use Lumeos to reach out to the EOS community and get quick feedback.
It could get really powerful, man. Like if it gets completely decentralized and then it's like block one bring out like a biometric system for ID. So it's like one user, one account. You could have like huge mini referendums on Lumeos, like potentially like between the Asian states and the US states. Because if you're kind of merging, you could have like big kind of cool collaborative polls, all one person, one vote. So it's crazy.
Yeah. And the best idea is that what we can do today, which you cannot see in the app itself, is we can break it down by how many users from the US said A versus how many people in Asia said B. And now you can have the East versus West in a really interesting way to see what works here might not work there, and what works there might not work here, which is truth, which is the reality.
Excited, man, already. Like the sky is the limit with this. Like I think like, well, how long are we going for? Like about half an hour, but yeah, man, like there's so much. It's really, really, I think your project you're going for is like probably one of the most exciting at the moment, just because it's going after like one of the biggest monopolies we see, like with data and all this kind of stuff. And then if you can bridge between the gap between East and the West, dude, it's like so exciting. You must be buzzing, man. You must be like, whoa, every day.
Yeah, that's like my 24 hours.
24 hours just like going for it. But yeah, man, like I think that's pretty much it. Like, thanks so much for coming on the show anyway, Ali. Like, awesome to have you on. We'll definitely do it again as like you progress further on in your kind of big project, your ambition. And is there anything else you want to talk about before we end?
No, I think we covered all the points, but the last announcement is going to, last week we promised 5 announcements. We announced 4 of them, and then the last one is going out this week. The idea is that we're actually finally getting our Lumeos token launching on the EOS mainnet. And I think that's what a lot of people are waiting for. So look forward to it before the end of the month.
Yeah, and like, do you have any kind of speculation on how much they'll be worth, like straight off the gun?
I have no idea.
No idea.
Really,
it'd be nice if it's $1. If it's $1, I'm happy days, bro.
No,
it's not going to be $1.
Yeah.
Imagine if it came out and it was like $50. It'd be crazy. No, I'm joking. No, it'll probably be like, what's the token supply overall?
So we have a billion. We have a billion tokens, and anybody who downloaded the app and been using Lumeos have been accumulating part of that. We also promised to do an airdrop, but rather than doing an airdrop immediately, we are going to do it slowly over time, over this year. So it's not going to be a one-time thing. That way we can reach as many people as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you got, hopefully Block One, when they release their easy onboarding process, it'll be better for you anyway. Because at the moment, it's still that kind of annoying friction between getting an account, having RAM, having all this. But if Block One bring out a nice, easy transition, then it's all everybody's working together. So that's why I love this space. You're going to benefit from Block One, they're going to benefit from you. So
yeah, like I know a lot of people who downloaded the app didn't really interact with the blockchain. That's because we are managing the accounts for you.
Yeah.
And it's not fully decentralized that way. And we're still asking you to bring your own EOS account if you want to get the token. But what we really need right now in this ecosystem is one click easy onboarding, and one click free onboarding, which is not just a problem with the EOS right now. It costs to get an account.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, well, it's like, it's just pros and it's cons. You said earlier, like you used to work with Tron. It's like they have the free onboarding, but then it's like they have problems with the slow transactions over EOS, which is faster. So it's really interesting to see how it all evolved. But yeah, if Block One can like tackle that problem, or anyone doesn't have to be Block One, but if they can maybe use that big pool of EOS they've got for user acquisition and get more users, then yeah, I think the sky's the limit anyway. But yeah, I'm really excited for the project, and just thanks for coming on. It's really a really nice chat with you, mate. I've literally had Lumeos since the beginning. I did a video about it like 6 months ago, and yeah, I think you're gonna go really far, bro. With this whole scheme is just really exciting for me. I think it's just like I've said it a million times, but it is the main one really at the moment. Like Facebook, Google, and Amazon, it's just so much control over people's data, and if you can do anything to help that, that's just hats off to you, bro.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me here. I'm a big fan of the EOSwriter too.
Yeah.
It.
Yeah, we're growing. Like we've got a few new people on the team now. We've got new writers, so we'll keep you updated. But yeah, thanks anyway, Ali. I'll see you soon. Have a good day. See you on the flip side. See you, bro.
Bye.